Hi, I'm Lisa K. Donner, along with Andrew Moran, Sarah Cowgill, Kelly Ballard, and Graham Noble. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. Former President Donald Trump was the lone wolf candidate for a few months, but that's all ancient history now as other qualified candidates toss their hats into the ring. We have former Ambassador Nikki Haley, Ron DeSantis is running at full blast, businessman Vivek Ramaswamy, Senator Tim Scott, and of late there are rumblings from Chris Christie and Mike Pence. Is there anyone on the panel who's ready to announce? I jest, but you get the picture. Graham, does all this mean President Trump has more competition, or is it really less competition? Is this better or worse for the front runner?
Well, I would say Trump is still, by, all the recent polls say that Trump is still ahead by, various double digits ahead of DeSantis. And then basically everybody else is struggling to break into double digits at all in terms of support. Tim Scott, Nikki Haley, this always was going to be a race between Trump and DeSantis, and everyone else, quite frankly, is an also run. I think, even whether you like them or you don't like them, you support their policies, you don't support their policies. I like a lot of things that Vivek Ramaswamy has said, but does he have any chance whatsoever of getting any kind of decent delegate count? I don't think so. And I think when you look at the GOP primary calendar, you kind of can do some math, and I'm not even going to attempt to explain how the delegates are awarded, because that is just you need to be you need to be an astrophysicist or something to.
We'll go to Sarah for that. Yeah,
I don't do math.
But basically, if you look at it like this, when the primary season starts, obviously you've got Iowa and New Hampshire are first. Trump is well ahead in Iowa. New Hampshire has only about half the number of delegates as and New Hampshire, I think, is a little more of a toss-up. But once you get down to the Super Tuesdays, if you like, Tuesday, March 5th, you've got the California primary, 172 delegates, and you've also got the Texas primary, which I believe is 155 GOP delegates. So, when you start divvying up those delegates, you get to the point where you realize that by the time I think it's March 19th comes around, which is when you've got the Florida primary. Now, obviously, DeSantis is going to at least stay in the race till the Florida primary. 122 delegates up for grabs there. But by that stage, you've got to think that Trump is so far ahead in delegate count, or not so far ahead, but he's enough ahead in delegate count that by the time you get to Florida, DeSantis is going to need to grab all, or definitely a huge share of those delegates in order to even remain viable. So the short answer is I still don't see Trump losing it. It's his to win or lose. And of course, if he continues just to lash out blindly at everyone rather than talking about what he's going to do, if he gets back into the White House, he may turn off a lot of people. But really, is he going to lose enough support to sink his nomination chances? Frankly, I don't see that.
Well, Sarah, money makes the politician's world go round, and DeSantis has got a boatload of it. I mean, doesn't that count for something?
Money does count for pretty much everything. Also, name ID. And DeSantis has made sure that his name is in the national news all the time. And it's not about him running for president. It's about the hinting at the run. That kept people interested for a while. And then, of course, all of his battles with Disney, very high profile. And he has come out on top of most of those. And so there is that. There's that there's that PR, there's that name recognition. Your other candidates in the field might be more qualified, but they don't have that name ID. Part of running in a primary is to gather enough steam that you are in the critical decision-making process going forward, whether you drop out or not. And that's what's going to happen to those people that are going to run against Trump. Now, he might, turn into a 2-year-old and throw a fit and call everybody bad names, and then, not only split the party, he may as well just, not think clearly about any of those qualified people to be a possible running mate. And I think that's important right now.
Kelly, do you think a couple of these guys are running for VP? I mean, let's face it, Trump's no youngster. I mean, he's not like Biden, but he's up there. And, you got the Tim Scott's a very competent candidate, got a lot of good things to say. You've got this Vivek Ramaswamy who seems to be pushing some right buttons. I know we'll give Andrew a second to talk about that in a bit. But do you think that's what's going on with some of these? In terms of Pence, I don't know what to say. And Chris Christie.
You know what? Indiana doesn't like Pence. I can tell you that much. So if his own home state thinks he needs to go sit down somewhere, then he's probably not going to get very far.
Oi.
You have nothing nice to say about Pence, don't say it at all at this rate.
Kelly,
I didn't, but other people have.
So here's why I interrupt you all and say I think Tim Scott probably is running. He might be a likely candidate for vice president. Somewhere I was reading or listening to one of our shows talking about how Trump has been, praising Tim Scott, and he's even had some good things to say about Nikki Haley.
Yeah.
Of course, not with DeSantis. DeSantis is his rival right now, but I think Tim Scott might be, maybe.
Yeah, and maybe Nikki Haley. And what's so bad about that? In effect, go ahead, Andrew.
Well, I was going to say, Trump, because he's nice to them right now because they're polling in single digits. Nobody has cracked in the double digits except for DeSantis and Trump. I'm sure if Tim Scott were to, let's say, get to 20% support overnight, he would just tergiversate and completely change his mind about Scott and see how bad he is. Look what he did to Kayleigh McEnany, for example. She was probably one of his best picks in that whole administration, especially during the final year or two. And he called her milquetoast because all she said was that he's leading in the polls by 25%. She cited one poll as opposed to saying, the later one, which was 34%. So if you dive deeper into the general election numbers, and this is my broader point, sorry, you see that the race is actually tight in the general election between Trump and Biden and Biden and DeSantis. And some polls, and maybe Trump will call me milquetoast as he called McEnany, but Biden's up 3 points on Trump in a latest Economist poll. A Marchetti survey showed that Trump and DeSantis are up 5 and 4 points. A Quinnipiac poll showed Biden beating Trump, but DeSantis beating Biden. So overall, don't rise in the polls because you'll get on Trump's bad side at this rate.
Well, that's a good point, but what you're saying is it's not really up to Trump. It's what happens with the other people. And my understanding, Sarah, is that most pollsters say national polls aren't worth warm spit. You got to look at the statewide polls. And you were saying like Pence in Indiana. I mean, who knew that, right?
He was a very powerful figure here for years, and then ascended to vice presidency. Kind of tamed down the whirling dervish that we put through as a country. And so you had that little a balancing act, but he's not well liked, and he is not liked at all by anybody who supports Trump, because they think, and it's a very unfair thinking process, that he could have just disregarded the election at that crucial certification vote. And that's not how this world works. So, you can't really hate him for that, but some people do. And Indiana doesn't like him.
And how much can you trust the polls now, right? How much they change? So.
Great question. Yeah, not very scientific science. But
I think the South Carolina primary is going to be a very good indicator of where things are going, because if you look at that, I looked at a recent one of the recent polls from South Carolina, and it has Trump is well ahead, DeSantis in second place, but then in South Carolina, both Nikki Haley and
Tim Scott.
I nearly said Rick Scott. Oh. Terrible. Wash my mouth out.
Pick the right Scott.
So Tim Scott and Nikki Haley both register in the double digits in South Carolina. Now, are they siphoning off support from DeSantis or from Trump? That's going to be an interesting. I think the result of the South Carolina primary is going to be fascinating.
Between now and any of these elections, I think the best bet is to go to Twitter and check out the Twitter accounts Team Trump and DeSantis War Room, and you are just going to be entertained. I mean, I've been sharing this with Sarah over the last few weeks, and the Trump account is bashing DeSantis because he can't choose if it's DeSantis or DeSantis. So at this rate, this is the type of entertainment you're going to be getting over the next few months.
Well, I read an
Oh
article about
boy.
Casey and somebody in their I think a disgruntled employee called Casey and Ron the DeSanti.
I can't believe the Trump team hasn't come up with DeSantis yet.
They will.
They call him
They will
DeSanctimonious.
Oh, that's okay. Somebody before we go, somebody untangled the Chris Christie thing for me because I can't quite wrap my brain around that one.
Well, it said that he can't really untangle his belt, so I think that's what
Yeah, right. I'm not entirely sure that anybody thinks he's a threat.
What's that about, Sarah?
Huh?
Why is he
What's up
running?
with that? Well, because he's just kind of been bumbling through anything politically he's ever done. And it's like, come on. And I don't think his health will allow him to have, some kind of a vigorous campaign. But over the other thing, I don't think anybody cares about him. I really hate saying that. I kind of like the guy. I don't
He
think
can just
anybody
be a
else cares about him.
diversion- A diversion vote.
Yeah.
Stalking horse?
Yeah.
Well, there you have it. Sage and varied predictions of what will be coming over the next few months. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform. YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble, we're on them all. As well, Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thanks for tuning in. And remember, surf on over to libertynation.com. I'm Lisa K. Donner, Editor-in-Chief. Thanks for tuning in today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth matters.